Hello, everybody, and welcome back. My name's Lou. Welcome back to what some people are calling episode 14 of Brits and Yanks Talk Trek, a podcast for Trekkies, Trekkers, and absolutely everything in between. As you know, we're brought together as a group of friends and special guests from both sides of the pond. We was brought together by a little obsession with a game called Star Trek Fleet Command. But this podcast is not just about Star Trek Fleet Command. We will be diving into a topic all about Star Trek. We'll be talking about cultural differences between the Brits and the Yanks, why the Brits are better, why the Yanks are not. We will be covering all different instances of that as we crack on. Remember, we want this show to be something that you get involved in. So let us know your topics, get involved, give us some comments, make sure you're leaving some feedback on iTunes, Podbean, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure that you download it, and do me a favour. Ask one of your friends to do it as well, at home, in your alliance, at work or school, some other nerd that you think might get some entertainment out of listening to these podcasts. Please, please, please share it out with them as we try to grow. And leave us, obviously, a review while you do that. Let's quickly go through who's here. Obviously, I'm here. We know that. We have got Stewie, the birthday boy, storyteller do. Happy birthday, buddy. I told you I'd never forget. How are you? And happy birthday.
I'm great. A very happy analog hello from me here.
Get back in your bucket. That was an insult, actually. I'm going to let you all in on the story here. So, me and Minnie were talking about Stewie's birthday, and we came up with a couple of ideas. I came up with most of them. Minnie did a little bit of work in the background. Obviously, most of the effort was on my part, and she described Stewie as analog. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously I don't forget birthdays, do I, Minnie? Oh, Minnie, happy birthday for September. Obviously, I mentioned it on the day, but I just thought I'd get that in there as well. All right. So, no, you're all good. Happy birthday. In all seriousness, buddy. I hope you've had a great day. We've got the Tribble Mother herself. She is here. Minnie, how are you? Obviously, thank you for helping me try and sort Stewie's birthday. How are you today?
I'm really good. I'm just hoping it gets there, with him living in France and all.
That's what I mean. You've got to think about that. This French postage systems, I mean, it's not quite the Royal Mail, is it?
No.
We've got the professor. Ooh la la! C'est la vie, je m'appelle. That's it. Again, that's the end of it. I've done that before. I do that every time. We have got the professor himself. We've got Putzz. Welcome back, Putzz. You are becoming a bit of a regular at this. I think I'm going to have to stop calling you a guest and just call you a panelist. How are you, buddy?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate being here. This is always one of my highlights of my fortnight is I get to sometimes jump on this and have a good time. So I really appreciate being back.
And we absolutely love having you. You do sound a little bit like you're underwater. So if you want to jump off and jump back on before we crack on, that would be fantastic. Okay, and we have got another special guest with us. We have got Finger Licking Good KFC. We've got KKC. Welcome to the podcast. How are you this evening? And welcome. And what's made you want to come on Brits and Yanks Talk Trek?
Hello. I'm doing very well, thank you. And what made me want to come on is I'm a Brit and a Yank. So when I first saw the podcast, because Minnie is in my alliance and I'm one of her mods, I was like, I'd be perfect. I could do both sides.
Wow.
And here I am, finally.
Now, that is a unique perspective, isn't it? That is a super... You are the only person officially who counts as Brits and Yanks. You know what I mean? you are... Oh, that's so cool. I never knew that. I never knew you were at both sides. I knew you were over... Are you over here now? You're in the UK now, aren't you?
Yes, I am over here now. But I do have dual citizenship.
Oh, okay. So when did you come over to the UK? How long did you spend in each side without giving away your age?
Well, we moved in 2005.
Yeah.
And I did all of high school over here.
Oh, wow.
So do with that as you will.
Secondary school, then. Obviously, we don't call it high school here.
Yes.
But yeah.
Exactly.
I'm only joking. Welcome.
High school to me.
Welcome to Brits and Yanks Talk Trek. It's amazing to have you, and I think you'll have some really unique perspectives on things. That's great. So we are going to start off with, as we typically do now, we'll start off with our STFC topic of the pod, and we're going to be talking, we have done someone similar to this before. We're going to be talking about officers again, and we're going to be talking about Kirks. We're going to be talking about whether there's too many of them. We're going to be talking about the individual ones that we still use, obviously we're all in different variants of the game. We never got that off you, KKC. What ops level are you?
I am still ops level 35.
Okay.
They're pushing me to 36, and I could do it, and I'm like, not yet.
No, absolutely fine.
Quite like how my events are right now.
You know what I say about camping, you play the game at your own pace. That's what I always say, innit, Minnie?
Something like that, yeah.
It's words to that effect, isn't it? I mean, potato, tomato. Yeah, it's the same thing, isn't it? Let's be honest. Okay, so we're going to talk about Kirks. I'll tell you what, as the guest, I will let you wait a couple of people before you jump in with yours. So we'll start off with you, Minnie. Tell me about one of the Kirks, because there's a hell of a lot been put in the game, isn't there? Tell us about a Kirk and tell us if you still use them or if it's just an officer that you have used that you've no longer used. Tell us about a Kirk in game.
Right, so I am lucky enough to have all the available Kirks, and the only Kirk I now use is SNW Kirk, and I send him out on my Monovine with a full synergy crew. Otherwise, the others have been left behind now. But SNW
Is still one that you use, and is that for the auto grind element, or is
it
that?
is, yeah, full synergy auto grind element. Send him out in the morning, refresh him before I go to bed. Barely ever see him. He's
Oh.
great.
It's a fly-by-night, guys. They're like ships that pass in the night, quite literally.
Absolutely.
Just to remind people, obviously, what Kirk actually does. Obviously, he does have a captain's ability, reducing enemy shield mitigation by 40% versus non-armada hostiles. Remember, that will be increased by synergy, reducing the amount of damage that actually physically goes between your shield and your hull. And then, as an officer ability, increases base weapon damage, which, I mean, base weapon damage is not the best ability in any form at all now because of the sheer amount of research and artifacts and just time spent in the game. Even buildings now that have weapon damage and things, any boost to damage needs to be very significant numbers in order for it to actually be relevant. But obviously, Captain's Maneuver, really good, making sure that you're not taking as much damage from that. So, I mean, yeah, I totally get it. Really, really, really good officer. And I'm glad that you've still actually got a use for him, which is nice. Stu Pot, do you still use a Kirk at all?
From time to time, I still use the first Kirk epic for the morale, and that's because I still haven't maxed Kim, believe it or not.
Okay, so obviously,
go on.
No, obviously, so the original OG James Kirk, the Kelvin Kirk that was obviously the day one officer. How amazing is that? 6 years later, that's still somebody that you use. Obviously, I mean, morale of the 3 base states. I know we've got to assimilate now, but the base states, morale used to be, and tell me if you think I'm wrong here. Morale used to be the one. That was the one that was focused on probably in the first 2 years of this game. People never really saw the value in hull breach, and burning was so awful with Nero that morale, the connection of Kirk and Spock, it was like the God crew, wasn't it? First couple of years?
I was going to say that was the reason why. It wasn't just because it was morale; it was because of Spock's ability. I mean, when he was maxed, it was at 750, isn't it?
Yeah, 750 defense.
It's just ridiculous, until you suddenly had something like an Enterprise, and you realised, oh, I don't need him anymore, Spock. I mean,
yeah,
but you still needed the morale. So yeah, I mean, it started off with it being great because it empowered Scott, but then it became great because it just empowered other stuff, and it sort of like took a bit of a back seat, I think, for a while against Burning and Hull Breach when all the new stuff came out, right up until we started getting things like the self healing on the NX01, which is only there with morale. So this is why I'm gagging to get my Kim up promoted, so that I can have him on the lower deck and not have to have I can't use Kirk on there with the crews that I use. I need to get that morale there.
No, bridge slots have become so valuable, haven't they? Been able to get that ability below decks. It's just the way of the game at the minute, isn't it? If you can't get it below deck, you don't want to waste a bridge slot on something as trivial as getting morale. And I think another huge thing was obviously the introduction of isolytic damage and artifacts. That was another thing, wasn't it? That obviously it's not just the researches, there's artifacts, there's everything now, isn't there, that's propped with these base abilities. And I think it's nice that they've not left them in the dirt. They've not left the 3 base ones in. I mean, Hull Breach is a different class, isn't it, in terms of damage output? It's just a totally different world compared to the other 2 base abilities. But morale, it's not been forgotten about, and we're still getting officers that are using and abilities and researches that have been triggered with morale. So I think that's good. And Kirk at 80% when he's maxed, and bearing in mind he is, and I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Minnie, I even think today that Kirk is a very, very an easier officer to max than some. And also, I think when you first start the game, Stewie, you might be able to chip in with this one. The sourcing for him to actually get an unlock is fantastic.
It's much easier. We've got quite a lot in the. If I'm not mistaken, there's some in the field
Straight
training as
away.
well. Yeah.
It's
Oh,
free
yeah. You
straight
can.
away, isn't he, from the Starbase
Yeah.
thing?
Starbase.
Yeah.
The little mini combat game.
Yeah,
And
of
yes,
course.
it is easy to max because I don't like to embarrass the birthday boy, but my Kirk is maxed, so
No, my
don't
Kirk
tell him.
Mac. It's my Harry Kim that isn't. I'm waiting to get Harry Kim maxed.
Oh, okay.
He wants it below deck.
Yeah.
It was a nice
and
effort.
100%.
Yeah, and 100%. Yeah, which is huge. I mean, not being funny, when Kirk's procking at 80% for 2 rounds, you're virtually starting round 2. You're gonna have morale 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Virtually. Obviously, it's not a guarantee, but that guarantee from Harry Kim is obviously huge from that. So no, it's nice to see the OG Kirk, and like you say, I still use him for stellar stuff if I ever do it as well. So I mean, yes, he does still have a place, but with the amount of research and things to boost shields, and especially when you start getting to G4, that's 750% of defense. It's just not cutting the mustard, is it, with Kirk Spot crews, and there's just so many other crews that you can use. I want to spend a bit more time on that one because I knew that was one that was outstanding for the first at least 2 years of the game. I mean, Kirk Spot Khan was a go-to PvP crew at one time. It was madness as that sounds.
You hear that, Minnie? My choice was outstanding.
This, but
Yeah.
Birthday.
Okay,
Yeah.
mine was outstanding. Just thought I'd say.
Birthday present.
But I did forget
Yeah.
his birthday, so I had to say something nice. Putzz, over to you. Talk to me about a Kirk.
So the only Kirk that I use on a ship regularly now is TOS Kirk, the epic officer, and I will use him when we have the PvP for like Rialta or something like that, where the stats are so low on the ship that actually adding in the damage that he provides PvP wise is actually better than your Explorer Strike Team or even the newer officers.
And that's very specific, isn't it? To that scenario.
Yeah, like it is and he also gets onto the top of my list because if he's not doing that, he is always 100% of the time on an away mission, one of the 5 key away missions that you want to get 100% crit on. And I don't remember which one he goes with, but it's his charismatic, I think, is his trait that you want to max out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the away teams being another dimension where officers were actually worth promoting when you were never going to use them potentially on a ship. Using them for away teams was another functionality of officers, wasn't it? When they actually first came out, and then we got the traits. I think it was a month or 2 months later, because traits didn't even used to be a thing when away teams first launched. So no, I totally agree. So a bit of a quiz now, because there's only one left. There's only one left, and I'm going to give that to our new guest. I thought I'd make it a little bit harder for you, phrasing. Oh God, that was terrible. KKC, tell me about the final Kirk, if you can remember which one it is.
The little baby Kirk for the little baby account, Cadet Kirk, who is just so helpful in the early game. You have absolutely no one else. Although now you have Epic Kirk, how probably is not really used much anymore anyway.
No, but I mean, how long have you been?
He
how long have you been
pulled me
playing?
through. I must be coming up to 2 years.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
That's all right. I think I've been in our alliance for about a year now, just over a year.
Yeah. And we're a 2-year-old server, so that could be the
roughly
max. Yeah.
But yeah, I know I used Cadet Kirk early on with my little Cadet Spock, and then whichever other cadet was giving me whatever boost I thought I needed at the moment.
So absolutely. I mean, and Kirk was one of the 2 flip officers that was paired with Cadet Uhura in the base pre-Pike hostile crew. And I know we're going back in time quite a bit with this, but when Pike didn't even exist, the go-to hostile crew was Cadet Uhura with either Cadet Bones, Cadet Kirk, and then Chen/Talan, pending what he was fighting on the side. So, I mean, Cadet Kirk was, even though he was a common officer, I mean, Christ almighty, what's a common officer? We haven't had one of them launched since TNG. TNG was the last launch of common officers when we got the replacements for the cadets, or the mirrors of the cadets in a new skin. But yeah, I mean, Cadet Kirk, I mean, what is the TNG officer? I think Putzz will know this. What's the TNG officer that mirrors Cadet Kirk?
I do believe it's Riker.
Riker,
I think.
Attack of officers by 15%. Let me have a look and see. Because obviously they were mirrored, weren't they, when TNG came out?
Relatively mirrored, but I don't know if there may be one more additional officer in one of the sets. I'm not 100% sure.
I think, Stewie, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that I don't think they copied Cadet Scotty.
No, because that was Grush, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Cadet Scotty giving a base warp boost of 5. I think it's the original Another Time crew, the cadets, that was that had one more officer, and that was Cadet Scotty, because I don't think they wanted to give any more warp range officers on top of like Grush, who I think had launched quite close to TNG as well. So, do you know what I mean? So I think they didn't want to do that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there's 4 Kirks in the game of a James T version. And just to throw a bit of a curveball in, does anybody use Sam? Yeah, does anybody use Sam Kirk for anything? I mean, are you using him for synergy with James T in the Strange New Worlds crew mini? Or are you using the older Strange New Worlds? Are you using Sam?
I'm using the older Strange New Worlds. I use Sam out and about now when I'm grinding. I find I can't be without him, if that makes sense.
Okay, tell us.
You know, it's like
he's never been out on one of my ships. I've never used him. So tell me what crew you run with Sam Kirk, just to give the listeners a potential idea for a crew.
I put Sam and Benga and the Doctor on a deck, and I'll use that as a grinding crew when I've got my PM data out. So I've then got 2 killing crews.
And just to stress, we don't mean original Mbenga.
No, not the original one. No.
The original whipping boy of the game. That was always the joke, wasn't it? If you're going to think of something crap, you always put Mbenga on as captain.
Now we have Badgie, obviously.
Now we've got Badgie, who does literally nothing. Absolutely. Okay, so happy we've done that. All the Kirks in the game, we've got plenty. I hasten to say that there won't be some more at some point. There probably will be more. They seem to like to add duplicates of officers, but I think all the Kirks either have or still do have some sort of relevance in the game. And I think for such an iconic character, the original captain of Star Trek, I think it's good that they've managed to honour that in the game, and they've managed to keep Kirk alive in his various forms. So I think that's really good. We are now going to move on to our second topic of the evening, and we're going to move on to one of my favourite sections, Freedom and Reason. Outstanding. The topic today, it's a little bit Brit-centric. We're going to be talking about the British monarchy. I think it's a very poignant subject, very poignant, especially with the tune that we've just played, because obviously it's something that the US doesn't have. The US obviously doesn't have a constitutional monarchy, same as what the UK has. It literally has its president, and then obviously its residing senates and all that sort of thing to govern, but that's political. Whereas the British monarchy now is more of a figurehead status symbol. In terms of real, actual constitutional power, they have a lot, but they don't exercise that power. I mean, in theory, any law that's ever passed in this country, the king can veto, in theory, but he doesn't, because that's not the way that our parliament and passing of laws and that sort of thing works. Whereas in theory, that power does technically lie with the monarch, who is our head of state. So what I'm interested to hear here is obviously here. Chin chin. So we are going to talk about, I want to see what the Brits think, sorry, what the Yanks think of.
Wait,
Go on.
wait 1 second.
Shoot.
They did have a monarchy, and look how they treated them. That's all I have to say. We shared, and they said no. They threw the tea in the harbour, and then
Stuck it on the
they went.
porch.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right.
Discoloured custard, discoloured gravy. Sorry, I mean, they've just done lots of things, haven't they? They just need the monarchy back, really. But I want to hear what the Yanks think of the monarchy, whether they think it's pointless, whether they admire it, whether they think it's good. So let's hear from you, Putzz, as the only true all-out Yank. When people think about the British monarchy over there, what would you say is the general consensus of the British monarchy? And what's your own personal take on the monarchy of the UK?
So if I was to generalize like what the number one consensus would be, I would think it would just come down to one word. And that is why. Why do you still have this now? Why is this still relevant? Why are you wasting money on this? Just why in general? My personal take is that it was once functional and now it's ceremonial. It's interesting, but it's not needed. And you might be better served spending that money elsewhere.
I'm interested that you've gone straight into the financial realms of it. I'm going to the sheer amount of Stewie. How would you react to that from a financial perspective for our monarchy?
Hold on, I'm still trying to simmer down a second.
3 hours later.
Right.
Right. I thought you'd have something to say on that. Go on.
What a load of no. I don't agree. I'm not a royalist by any shape or but I do think that they have a place. I think they're great, and I don't believe they're anything like a financial burden as people who don't actually know a lot about the figures may think that they are. They bring in quite a lot of money just in tourism alone, and people are usually taken back when they find out just how much money they brought in. And a lot of the properties that apparently we as a populace pay to upkeep, that brings in money as well from visitors and stuff like that. So I think the balance sheet is actually in the clear, isn't it? I'm not sure. You probably know better than me, Lou, because I'm down here in France. And all
Yeah,
that.
exactly. You thought we were going to be talking about Napoleon, didn't you? That's who
I
you
did,
said.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a Ferdinand and all them sort
Louis,
of Louis. What are you on now? Louis the 76th or something like that.
Yeah,
I think that's
I don't
about
know.
where you got to.
Yeah, something like that. Some kind of Roman numerals after it.
Over in France. Outstanding. So the British monarchy, the sovereign grant a few years ago, which is how much that we pay for the upkeep of that, is ballpark about 90 million a year, roughly about 90 million a year. That's what it costs to keep the royal family. The estimated receipts from tourism, people that specifically that come to London to see the royal family and then do lots of other things at the other side, but one of their main core purposes is to see the royal family, is expected to be over £1 billion a year in pounds, over £1 billion a year, which is tenfold. So
Wow.
yes, it costs. Yes, it costs us, and it's a physical outgoing, and we don't see in general receipts back. Obviously, they don't make money directly. They don't do that. They don't work. They don't pay taxes. They don't pay even stupid. They don't pay inheritance tax. Obviously, when a queen dies and stuff passes down, they are exempt from inheritance tax and things like that. But the tourism from them is estimated to be over £1 billion a year, which is tenfold what they actually cost in. And obviously, even if you said that was being adventurous, the person that actually did the study and does all the research and said it was 25% of that, that's still 2.5 times. Do you know what I mean? If you said that they've been massively, massively over. So from a cost perspective, I don't ever get that argument. I don't ever get that argument that it costs. But I can understand that from an outsider looking in, I can totally see how you see this big, expensive, flashy, I mean, like weddings, funerals that cost millions, the security that has to go into it, the police that have to be there, obviously to be able to man them going the cat to go for a coffee. You know what I mean? They can't do that without spending 100 grand on security. I can see, and they don't actually add anything in terms of real life decision making, because that is all done by our parliament and prime minister, governments, all that sort of thing. So I can see that from the outside how it may just look as a big expense, but financially that's just not what it is. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of things as well, and this is very apparent across the whole of everything with the UK, because we've got such a long history, and we can say that by comparison to obviously the US. We've got such a long history that's just absolutely stinking of tradition. And it's really, really hard for anybody here to break any traditions on things. And things are still done now how they were done 3, 4, 5, 600 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Before the USA was ever really even in existence. Do you know what I mean? And that tradition, do I think everything's right? No, I don't. Do I think a lot of it's pomp and ceremony? Yes, I do. But do you know what? I like that. I like to watch the big birthday parades and all that sort of thing. I quite enjoy watching all that. It's one of them proud to be British moments. I really like it. But does that make you feel any different, Putzz? And what's your personal take on it?
Well, I can say that I didn't know all of that for sure. And I will sit down and be wrong. That is perfect. Yeah, I was ignorant on this subject, which is, nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
I'm an American. I'm
Yeah.
not British,
No,
right?
no. Yeah.
I would have to say that just how the lineage and how things went from, you know, uh, this person, then that person, then this person, as far as, succession. I don't know, man. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the king now, his mother is part German, and Greek, and his father was part Greek, right? So like, how does that work into all of it, right? Like, that's kind of weird to me, right? Like, how British is your royal family right now, right? Like that's that. I don't know, right?
I think Britain is an island made up of all sorts. I like to class us as a mongrel.
See what you
There's a
did there.
little bit of greatness in all of us, from Germany, from Spain, from, the Vikings up in the cold areas, and we go, we invade, we take. I mean, they give us stuff, and then we bring it back home. We are an island of mongrels. We are absolutely. And
So I
And I
can
would say,
I agree,
oh,
and a lot of it is down to things like conquest, but that's going back a hell of a long time. One of the things now is that up until very, very recently, royalty could only marry royalty.
Uh-huh.
So when royalty couldn't go find a member of Joe Public to marry, the only option they had was either incestual, because you stayed here, or you went and married somebody who was the King of Norway's daughter or son, and you went that way, and you went and lived out there for a bit whilst somebody else was reigning here, and etc. etc. So automatically, what that does is that affects the gene pool in terms of where the bloodlines lie in terms of country. Because you've got to remember that obviously at one point as well, the British Empire was once a quarter of the globe. Do you know what I mean? 25% of the globe used to be ruled by the British Empire. And all that meant was that people did exactly the same. It was always royalty met royalty, and a lot of it was down to money. Do you know what I mean? If you couldn't make money, which they can't do, they had to marry it. So when there was skin, the sell is probably not the right word. They'd send off young Georgie boy off to Denmark to marry a rich princess somewhere, so that they could have access to all their horses, so they could sell them. I'm being very trivial there, but do you know what I mean? So I know exactly what you're saying. Where, like, I mean, you think about the Queen. Her mum was half German. She's German, and she married a a Greek fella. The Queen, obviously, who was passed, rest in peace. And I can understand why that looks strange, but I don't understand if there's no other way to keep it here where it's British, 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 English, 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 whatever you want to say, without marriage because of the fact that it was royals have to marry royals.
Yeah. But the one thing that always sticks in my craw is if possibly, and this is a possibly, right? Possibly World War One doesn't happen if royalty didn't exist as a thing in society.
Mhm.
If we didn't have royals, Archduke Ferdinand, blah 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 blah, the brother or the twins that look or the cousins that look like brothers, right?
Yeah.
The German whatever, British whatever, and I don't know their names. I'm sorry. And the feud, there wouldn't have been maybe World War One, and then there maybe not have been World War Two. So I don't know.
Without World
You
War
know,
One, World War Two never happens. I am in
Right.
100% agreement with you.
Yeah. So I look at it that way and go, okay, maybe like in a bizarro in the mirror universe where we don't have royalty, right? Did we have these wars? I don't know.
Because
That's actually a fair point, Lou,
super
because
fair.
if you look at, if you take the Yanks, for example, I mean, they don't have a royalty and they're hardly ever in any wars.
No,
I
absolutely
know
not.
there's
There's
no wars
never any
going on
civil
at the
wars.
moment
There's
that
never
has
any of
got
that, is there?
anything to do
Ever.
with royalty.
You know
No.
how it is. We just learn from
My
the
turn.
best.
But
My
I,
turn.
Oh,
My
you're
turn.
good.
My turn. My turn. My turn. My turn.
go on.
My turn. Right. First of all, Putzz, everything that Lube said is absolutely true. Everything that Stewie said is absolutely true. But I think what's most important is all that pomp and circumstance comes to the fact that our armed services serve our royal family. And whilst we have an MP, which may be overseeing the Ministry of Defence, there is not one soldier that would ever go against the king if the king said, we are not going to war, because we all salute the king. The Queen was my boss when I was in the army, and she was the best boss I ever had.
I've got a military background, and I agree. Do you know what I mean? I mean, even our police. I mean, I know a fair few police officers. They swear allegiance again to the Queen, now King, and that's who they call the boss. That's who their boss is. They don't care about government. They don't care about Parliament. They would do anything. If the King said, "Right, I want to go to war," the army would go to war, regardless what Parliament said. And they've still got that long-standing tradition and that long-standing loyalty to the monarch that nobody else would. That you just don't get anywhere else, do you? I mean, you just nobody without a monarchy would ever fully understand that. And I just think I think it's a great thing. There are lots of people in this country, Putzz, who feel very similar to you, that are very, very, not I'm saying that you are, that think as you did before we started talking today, that are very anti-royalist. Do you know what I mean? They hate the idea of basically the king is born, not elected. They don't like the fact that there's no democracy in it. And they hate that. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Let me be clear. I'm not anti-royalist.
I know.
Was.
Yeah, that's why I correct that. I'm just saying. Obviously, your initial gut reaction was all about money, and I don't even look at them as money. I look at them as part of our, as you would say, the constitution.
And I think one of the other things as well is when you think that we have the Duchy of Cornwall, which was the king when he was Prince Charles and Camilla. The Duchy owns the vast majority of the land in Cornwall, which means it can go out to farmers. They are one of the largest landowners in the whole of of Britain.
Yeah.
And it stops private entities like round me in Lincolnshire. All our farms are bought by and owned by the Hoover magnate Dyson. And the only reason he's done that is because there's no inheritance tax when he passes on. And so we have fields which are just left fallow because farmers around here can't afford to rent the fields. So I think the parcel of lands that, I mean, Yorkshire's huge for it, Cambridgeshire's huge for it. There's lots of places where farming is still a viable living thanks to the duchies of the different regions
Yeah.
all under the crown.
I agree.
And see, that's quite interesting because it's almost an opposite dichotomy here in the States, especially the further west you go. The more land is owned by the federal government and is run by the Bureau of Land Management. And what you find is the people that live out there the further west you go, they tend to hate the Bureau of Land Management more and more because even though it's their land, like I may own this land here, it may still be part of the federal area. And so you have to ask and get permission from the federal government to do just about anything on your property. It's actually why places like Idaho and stuff are trying to create what they call Greater Idaho and pull in parts of Washington and Oregon and California, make a bigger state and it's all about land management. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, craziness. And I think one perspective that I've saved till last, KKC, I think it would be amazing to hear the perspective of somebody born in the US who will have known of the royal family, and then come over here and is now a British citizen as well as a US citizen. And I'd love to know if your opinion changed. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on it, and just sort of see what your general perspective is on the royal family.
Yes, all right. I'd say it's definitely mixed. Like between the both of you, like with Putz's perspectives and then yours and Minnie's. Because I agree, like it feels like they'd be taking up a lot of money because obviously they don't have real jobs, but I also know the tourism aspect is huge. I mean, there's a lot of it. And it's just not the same in the States. Like you don't get people necessarily going to Washington to try and see the president. And it's just not as monetized a thing. So I'm sure that's part of why in the States we're like, oh, it can't be that good. But then I also know a lot of people in the States just absolutely love the pomp and circumstance. Love the idea of having the cute little queen and the nice little family that doesn't really do anything, but they've always been here. And like, isn't it cool that we have something that's like in our storybooks, like come to life? And I know like for some of the more recent like royal weddings, people just love the idea of oh, someone's becoming a princess. Like that just doesn't happen usually. That sounds like a fairy tale, and it's just so like other. It's just like people just think it's like so adorable. It's just like not real almost, even though like it definitely is real life for these people.
I totally agree. And how did your opinion change much when you came over? And did you find that people here were different to how you thought there would be about the royal family? Do you know what I mean? How did things change for you?
I think actually when we moved over, there was a bit more like of the anti-royalness, in all honesty, that like I didn't really experience in the States because at least where I was, it felt very like um, idealized of like oh like isn't that cool and like not us but like over there like that isn't that something like we could go visit and you could go see them and like such a thing and then you get here and so well this is just everyday life like we don't care as much or we don't think it's as
Okay.
important even though it definitely is bringing all the tourism.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, just to say that it's people take interest in our royal family as the most famous family in the world. That often branded as the most famous family in the world. Nobody doesn't know who our king is, the same as nobody doesn't know the president of the United States is. There are still people in this country who would not be able to tell you who our prime minister was. And he's only been there since July. I'm aware of that, but they probably won't be able to tell you who the last one was. Do you know what I mean? There's people that don't know that. Nobody will not know King Charles. Nobody will not know that. And I don't think many people across the world wouldn't know who the king of this country was. And little interesting fact for you, 4.1 billion people on the planet watched Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. Putzz, did you watch any? KKC, did you watch any?
I definitely did,
So
yes.
Putzz? We'll ask Putzz that later. But 4.1 billion, that's over 50% of the globe watched some of the
sorry,
Queen's funeral.
I was in the middle of a coughing fit. No, I did not watch the funeral.
Did you watch any of it?
No, not a. I mean, if a little bit of a snippet on CNN like that evening or something.
Yeah. But I just found that mad. 4.1 billion people watched it, and you just think that's mad. It's craziness. The fact that, I mean, I know it was a funeral. It's a morbid thing. It's sad, but just goes to show that there's still something out there of people that even if it's interesting it's interesting. It's something a bit different. Not many people have got it, and we shout and scream about it because, I mean, me for one, I'm a proud Brit. And part of being a Brit is having a king or a queen. That's my opinion.
I will say this, that my wife and I did watch William's wedding and Harry's wedding. So we did watch those.
Do you know what I mean? You've watched a wedding. Do you know what I mean? I go to my best friend's weddings and I'm bored out of my tree. Do you know what I mean? And that's somebody that I know really well. Weddings bore me, but I watched all of it. And you think that I'm sat watching somebody's wedding who I'm unlikely ever to meet, who it means nothing to me really. Do you know what I mean? Personally, but what am I trying to say? What's the word?
Pomp of circumstance.
No, the
patriotism.
Patriotism tells me that the royal family are part of me because I'm British, so I will watch it out of service to my country. Mad as that sounds, absolutely mad. But that's why we watch it, and it's interesting. Stewie,
I have a point.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go on then. Fact, go on.
Well,
Okay, I'll go.
More point. Oh, sorry. Can I go first? Just quickly. I think another big thing was Queen Elizabeth II had been a part of everyone's lives for so long compared to a lot of other monarchs that it really was like a family member dying for a lot of people. It's like they've just known her for almost all their lives, if not all their lives.
A 70-year reign. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty impressive, isn't it? Longest ever reigning monarch. Yeah, no, it is. It's huge. Sorry, Minnie.
Oh, yeah.
Go on.
If you lived in Cambridgeshire, you would often see Kate and the little kiddies out going around B&M shopping for clothes and things. And their security guards would always be at a slight distance, but they tried to have as normal an upbringing as humanly possible. So just going back to what you were saying earlier on about the cost of the security, yes, obviously there is a cost as they get older and they become more important. But when they were kiddies, they really tried. I mean,
to let them have a children's life.
Exactly. Yeah.
No. Madness. I mean, like I say, I absolutely adore the royal family. I love it. Stewie, anything finally from you on the royals? Have you got an interesting fact? Anything that you want to throw out?
Well, it's more a concern, right? It's you know how the Yanks have basically tried to ruin the English language, right? With
Unsuccessfully, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, unsuccessful with all their change. Well, I'm worried that they might try and send someone over here to infiltrate the royal family from within.
No, they never do that.
You know?
No,
I'm really concerned that might happen.
No.
Yeah, what? And then and what if though? What if they ended up like moving back there and standing down as being royals or something like that?
Could you imagine? That'd be terrible.
Lord. Oh, no.
That's the only reason I watch the weddings, to see what's going on, keep my finger on the pulse.
It'll never
watch
happen.
Those Yanks.
It'll never
watch
happen.
Those Yanks, I'm telling you.
Never happen. However, something that might happen. 3 weeks. King Trump. Anyway, moving on. We're now...
Oh God!
We are now going to talk. We're going to move swiftly on from that, and we're going to be talking about Star Trek. So we're going to be talking Star Trek. This is not STFC. This is a pure Star Trek section of the podcast. And the topic today, we're going to be talking about, Minnie? BADmirals. So we're going to be talking about bad admirals. Now, obviously, there's been lots of people that have held the rank of admiral, and the general consensus is if they're an admiral in Star Trek, they're rubbish. There's something wrong with them. Something's gone wrong. And that happens to me. I've seen that when I've been at work. The people that are awful at the job seem to get promoted because they want them out of the responsible jobs, and they just want to put them in some high-ranking position. That happens all the time. Anyway, side note. So I tell you what, we will start with our guest today. We will start with KKC. KKC, give us a BADmiral. Tell us about them. Tell us what they did and why were they bad.
All right. So I'm going to put forward Alexander Marcus.
Oh, good one.
From Star Trek Into Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say his first big thing was, releasing Khan from his cryogenic state. terrible idea all around, even
It,
if you think you have him under control.
it would have been a crap
Trying to
film if he didn't know, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, fully.
Yeah.
but it's still a bad thing to do. Then in trying to incite a war against the Klingons, getting fellow members of your team killed, aka Pike, and then in a last-ditch effort to get everything to go your way, almost destroy the Enterprise with your own daughter on board, which, as a daughter, I do not appreciate.
Absolutely not. I mean, he was just an all-round bad dude, wasn't he? And do you know what?
Oh yeah.
I didn't see it coming at the start. I didn't see
Which
it.
is what makes the movie good.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a really good. I mean, it didn't take him long, did it? But I didn't see that plot twist going as bad and him being as much of antagonist as he actually was. I thought it was played superbly as well. Don't know the name of the actor, but I thought it was a character that was played really well, and I just thought everything about Marcus was just. It was deep. It was horrible, and he was just a really good baddie, wasn't he? He was just a really good bad guy.
Exactly, just a nice all-rounder.
Yeah, a good all-round horrible bloke. That's exactly what we need. Really, really good and really terrible Admiral. I totally agree. Minnie, what you got?
I've got Admiral Doherty, or how do they pronounce it in the film? I can't pronounce it in the film because it's my granny's surname,
Doherty.
so it's always Doherty. It's Doherty. It's a good Irish name. And mainly because I think, whilst researching this, although I do like your point that the worse you get, the worse you are at your job, the higher the promotion you get. I do like the fact that whilst researching, I found out that the reason most admirals become baddies is because once they've ranked up and they're no longer running their own starship, they get bored, so they find loopholes. So he was actually a vice admiral.
To get bored.
They get bored, yeah. To find these little loopholes in the old Federation. From Star Trek Insurrection, which I think is the 9th film, he was aligned with the offshoot of the Baku, the Sona, and for me, he was aligned with them not for any higher purpose, but just for pure greed. And when it turned out that Picard had stumbled across what was going on and the farming of these particles and the Baku being their planet being stolen from them, so he didn't get caught out. He literally, a bit like KKC's admiral there, he literally gave the green light for the Enterprise to be attacked and hopefully all his crimes covered up.
Absolutely
So,
super non-Starfleet, wasn't it? And it was just I enjoyed Insurrection. I mean, was it the most action-packed? No, but I thought it was a good story. I thought it was a really good story. I liked it. And I just think that Doherty, again, it's just not something you don't expect it, do you? You always think, don't you, that the admirals are going to be the proper Starfleet, stick to regulation, blah, blah, blah. But they're just not like that, are they? And Doherty's another prime example. I mean, can you remember? Quiz question. How did he die?
Oh, he had his face stretched off, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. He was sat in that regeneration machine that the sonar used.
Yeah.
And it turned out, didn't it? That was a good twist, that the sonar were actually the Baku.
Yes.
Didn't it? They were actually like their sons, weren't they? And their kids.
They'd run off to find their fortunes somewhere else. And obviously, the particles around the atmosphere were actually keeping them young.
I mean, you got to say this, right? Let's have a look at the morality of this. His argument, Doherty's argument, was always that it's a few hundred people that are benefiting from the radiation of the rings and the regeneration, whereas that technology could be harvested and help millions in the Federation. That was always his argument, wasn't it? That was sort of how he justified to himself that what he was doing was not wrong, that he was doing it for the good of the Federation. And you know what? I can see that argument. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Do you know what I mean? To quote Star Trek.
If that planet was dying naturally, absolutely. But why not install a monarchy and a couple of health spas, ramp up tourism, boom, bang bong.
Riser 2.0. That's what they could have had, couldn't they? Yeah, well, you never know. No, really good one. Really like that one. Admiral Dougherty, he was a proper git as well, and I'm glad that you brought him up. Putzz, I think I know who you're gonna go for based on our conversations, but I don't actually know. Who have you got?
Okay.
Who have you got for us?
My admiral, first of all, here's the tease. My admiral is not in Starfleet. But I first want to say that Marcus has to be the worst admiral in Starfleet for just how disconnected he was from his own humanity and willing to do that to his daughter.
Agreed.
By far. And that is the whole reason why admirals are bad, is because they are in a leadership position where they are forced to look at the whole picture, and they are forced to remove themselves from their own humanity to such a degree that they can justify, oh, let me kill these thousands of people for the benefit of billions, right?
Mhm.
Anyways, my admiral is Valor.
Okay.
Okay, Admiral Valor is a admiral. He is the first Romulan admiral that any human ever comes in contact with, as far as historically speaking. This happened in Enterprise. This is the episodes where the Romulans, we didn't even know that they were Romulans at the very beginning, but he was there for a couple of episodes where they were. The Romulans were using the less dominant species off of Andoria. I can't remember what they're called, the blind Axnars or something like that.
Mhm.
They were using one of him, and they were using a drone to go, and they were basically attacking and stirring up trouble and blaming other people with their holographic ship designs. And they were basically out to destroy Earth. And that was in the Enterprise series. And he is my favorite worst.
Do you know, I totally forgot all that happened. I actually erased a lot of Enterprise from my mind because it's not my favourite series. But now you've said that again, you've actually made me want to go back and watch it again. And I think you've gone very left field there, which I like. But yeah, he was. That's a really, really good option. I like that one. And I think that I didn't think anybody else would pick anybody from any other faction other than Federation. I genuinely thought everybody would go there. So no, you didn't pick the one that I was going to pick, who was a bad admiral. You didn't pick it after all that. But no, really good one. Stu Pop, what you got?
Firstly,
Before we get to that, Putzz, are you 51 yet?
No, I'm not 51 yet. Quit asking.
yeah, I think, by the way, it's Doherty. The Irish name. Doherty.
Doherty.
I think they say Dougherty in the film.
But I think the Irish name, and let's face it, who knows an Irish name better than a French man living on an island? Okay, and I'm pretty sure it's Doherty.
Fair play. Fair play.
Well, my Irish granny was Doherty.
She's wrong, and she can sit
she's
down.
Wrong. Yeah. She must be part American. She's spelling it and saying it wrong. She must be
saying
part
it
American.
wrong, totally. Somewhere in there. Right, Admirals. Yeah, the one I've chosen very quickly, because I hadn't really thought about this much, was Kennelly. And I'm going to be told that that's pronounced differently as well. Minnie Mabel, is it Kennelly or is it Cannuli?
I don't know what you mean.
He's the guy in Generations, Next Generation, that basically was selling arms to the Bajorans. To the Bajoran underground, if you like, and he thought he was doing it for the good and tried to get it all right and etc. But it turns out that at the end of the day, he was absolutely being played by the Kardashians all along, and they were actually trying to incite this war, etc. And the reason why is it actually sits in a very good episode, which is the Ensign Row one. Okay, which I think it was Silvus had her as one of his. I wish I could see more of characters, and I agreed. She was a great character, and him basically because it's just so not Starfleet what was happening, and he was basically being turned into a puppet by the Kardashians to try and incite and continue this war.
I still adore that you call them Kardashians. It still makes me it makes me internally chuckle every time that you do it. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. That basically a lot of the ones that we've picked that were Starfleet, the reason that they were bad, it wasn't that they were necessarily not good at their jobs. It's that they were just going against everything that everybody else would have expected from somebody in that position. They were trying to break the Prime Directive. They were trying to go against whatever that they were doing. A lot of them felt like they were doing it for the right reasons. This isn't my pick, so I can say it. But even like Admiral Pressman, I don't know if you remember him, Admiral Pressman was the guy who was Riker's first captain, and they was developing the cloaking device. Then got stuck on the Pegasus. It got stuck in a rock. He thought he was doing the right thing by trying to get rid of the in the agreement with the Romulans never to develop. Can anybody remember? Here we go. Here's the connection. Here's the quiz question of the day. Who can remember what the treaty was called that prevented the Federation from developing cloaking technology? That's my quiz question for the day. Nobody?
It's a name of a ship. It's a name of a ship, right?
It is.
Yeah, it's the ship that Scotty died on, or quote unquote died on, right?
I don't want to give you too many clips, too many hints.
But yeah, I can't remember the name of the ship.
Great. That's the question. Anybody listening that knows that, either throw it in the Discord or leave it as a comment on the podcast if you're listening on Apple Podbean or somewhere that allows comments. Because we need people to comment. We need people to rate the show. We've had about 5 people rate it, and we have hundreds of people listen. So please, 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 go on, leave a review, 6 out of 5 stars ideally, and leave us some comments. Let us know what you think of the show. That would be absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. But that's our quiz question of the day. What is the name of the treaty that prevented the Federation from developing cloaking technology? But going back to what Stewie was saying, great option. Somebody I would never have thought of. Again, quite left field. And I just think it just shows again that they're going against everything. What did Captain Picard say? The founding principles on which Starfleet was based. I think he says that in something.
And ironically that you mentioned the Prime Directive, that's how Picard found out about it, because Ro confided in him that she was ordered to violate the Prime Directive.
Yeah. Madness. Again, I'm gutted. We can do spoilers about this now, can't we? I'm gutted that Ro is not going to feature again without Miracle bring back to life, because I think she had so much character development more that they could do in other episodes. Absolutely loved Ro Laren. No, brilliant, really good option. Finally, from me, my option. Now, this one, some of you are going to laugh at me here, and some of you are going to find this a little bit odd. Who do I think was a bad admiral? I'm going for James T. Kirk. And I'm going for him for a reason that I can justify in my head. I think he was a terrible admiral, and he should never have not been a captain. When he moved up to admiral, that moved him away from his skill set. That moved him away from what he was good at. It took him off the bridge of a ship, which is what he was good at. And all being away from that did was grind him down. He looked bored. He looked like he just wasn't fulfilling his potential. And it proved it when he went back. He got demoted. That was probably the best thing that ever happened to him. But I think James T. Kirk was a terrible admiral. What do you think, KKC? Do you agree with me, or am I stupid?
No, I think that's a very good point, because a lot of people think, oh, I should be promoted and promoted and promoted. But sometimes you're absolutely perfect where you are. And he is a great captain.
Exactly, which is why I never want to be admiral in game. Stewie can keep that forever. Nobody would ever want that job, would they? Because I'm very good at what I do. Do you know what I mean? I don't need to be promoted anymore. Great endorsement there. Great endorsement. Fantastic. But yeah, anybody got any more admirals that they want to throw in? Any bonus mentions? Anything that anybody wants to add as other BADmirals that we can add to our list of people that should have either never been an admiral or that were terrible at it while they were there?
Huey, was Ro an admiral in Picard? She was, wasn't she?
I don't know. I can't remember if she was.
I can't remember.
I think she was like a commodore or something.
To the rule. Oh, was she?
I think she was like a
I know
commodore.
she was pretty high up, wasn't she?
Yeah, I don't think she was an admiral. I think she might have been like a commodore or like a commander or something like that. And she was higher than she ever was in the series, but no, I don't think she was an admiral. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. leave us a comment. So, moving on then. Thank you so much. Remember, guys, this podcast is available on all major podcast platforms. Please, please, please leave us a 6 out of 5 star review. We are going to, when we start building up some reviews, going to read some reviews out on the show just to massage our egos and give us a little shot in the arm for us to keep doing this. We do like that. So please do it. Please check out our Discord. Obviously, all links to everything that I'm going to mention now is going to be down in the episode description below. You can access all the tools that are created by the wonderful Stewie Doo. You can access the Officer tool, the Battle Log tool, everything that he creates in there every single month. Fantastic tools, great uses. Make sure that you go and download that, and all the charts that Silvers creates as well. Things like the Syndicate chart, the Primes chart, how to source them, how long is it going to take you to get to the next Syndicate level in game. You can get all that from our Discord. Obviously, check out our other content creation channels. You can find all of my stuff at itsloob.com. So you can find our Twitch channel, you can find my YouTube channel, you can find obviously links to this podcast and access to our Discord as well. Itsloob.com is the place to go for that. You will find Mini Mabel. You will find her on Twitch as well. So search Mini Mabel and you can find Mini on there. Leave us some feedback in all of the comments and questions and things. Please start doing that. That would be absolutely amazing if we can get some feedback on stuff that you want us to talk about. And whilst you're there checking out our website, itsloob.com, please consider picking yourself up some Brits and Yanks Talk Trek merch at itsloob.com. And you can also join up to become a member on there as well. That's just helping to contribute towards the ongoing support of the channel to be able to build better and better stuff, get more technology, and just to give us the impetus to be able to do it. So go and consider doing that. That would be absolutely amazing. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who is already a member, all you people that contribute and help us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Minnie. Thank you, Antari. Thank you, Jenny Mac, Deja, Dr. Ryan, Chef, Virtual Army, Zek, Texas Guy, Brexon, Roku, Killer Angel, Grumpy, Sherlock Holmes, Telrina, Mad Hadji, Jakers, and Rusty Halo. Thank you so, so much for being members of the channel. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you as well to the panel. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Stewie, thank you. Minnie, thank you. Putzz, you're back again. I really, really welcome you. Thank you so much. And our latest special guest, KKC, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your contributions tonight. It's been absolutely amazing. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, guys. And remember that absolutely everything is better with Lube. Take care, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.